1.5 hours, NDC hails OSP findings exonerating its flag bearer John Mahama in Airbus scandal. But the governing MPP claims the probe strengthens its case against Mr. Mahama.
Also this evening, Kolebo Teaching Hospital renal dialysis unit shut down again, compelling patients to seek care elsewhere. With its additional costs, we'll tell you exactly what's happened and what's led to this particular decision here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, and lawyer Eduji Tamaklo, the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, has been responding to a petition against him to the IGP concerning the controversial Ejapadia document. We have details of that shortly. Also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond.
All of these plus business and sports in the next 1.5 hours. But for now, though, Grace Hamwajiman is here with the latest in summaries. Grace, what you have?
Beatrice, let's begin from the bit of the OSP. And the Office of the Special Prosecutor has chastised former President John Dramani Mahama for his decision to involve himself in the Airbus deal initiated by his blood brother Samuel Foster Adam. According to the Special Prosecutor, Kisie Jabing, the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress should have known that his involvement would raise a reasonable suspicion of improper conduct and dealings, notwithstanding his claim of good intention. Briefing the press on Thursday, Mr. Jabin stressed that such close proximity dealings by such elected high officials of the public and their keen and close associates on behalf of the Republic should neither be viewed favorably nor encouraged. The renal unit at the Kolebo Teaching Hospital has been closed for almost 2 weeks with no explanation from officials. Normally bustling with patients, the entrance now stands empty with only a few staff inside. Patients have resorted to private facilities for their dialysis, which is not cost-friendly, leading to the demise of 3. And a group, the concerned citizens of Nzima Manle, have vowed to protest the expected visit of NPP running mate Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh to Nzima on Friday. Dr. Prempeh is scheduled to be in Ivalue Jomorojira on Friday to support NPP's parliamentary candidate Catherine Afeku launch her campaign. But agitated youth say he should apologize to the people first for his unsavory remarks about Dr. Nkrumah. Many in Zimaland are still waiting for what they describe as an unqualified apology to them and especially the family of Dr. Nkrumah following the NPP's running mate's unpopular remarks about the first president in Kumasi during his unveiling. His apology afterwards has not appeased the people. That's it for the news summaries.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamwajima. Let's bring you the details of our stories for you today. And the opposition National Democratic Congress has hailed the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, findings exonerating former President John Mahama of any wrongdoing in the Airbus scandal. This was after the OSP named the NDC flag bearer as official one and his brother Samuel Adam Mahama as the intermediary alleged to have facilitated the payment of bribes to various officials. The office, however, said that there is no evidence that former President John Mahama was involved or played any role in the procurement and maintenance of the agency relationship between Airbus, its agents and associates in respect of the purchase of the government of Ghana aircraft for the Air Force.
Individual described as government official 1 by the UK court and individual 1 by the US court is John Dramani Mahama. The individual described as intermediary 5 by the UK court and consultant 4 by the US court is known both as Samuel Adam Mahama and Samuel Adam Foster. The OSP found no evidentiary basis that suggests that former President John Dramani Mahama or any other public official was paid bribes by Samuel Adam Foster, also known as Samuel Adam Mahama, Philip Sean Middlemis, and Leanne Sarah Davis. Then again, the OSP found no evidentiary basis that suggests that former President John Dramani Mahama or any other public official was induced to improperly favor or did improperly favor Airbus in respect of the purchase by the government of Ghana or military transport aircraft from Airbus.
The office also says that it is concluding its probe because the case is not actionable.
A special prosecutor has directed the closure of the OSP investigation into alleged bribery of high-ranking Ghanaian officials by Airbus SC through intermediaries in respect of the sale of military transport aircraft by Airbus SC to the Republic of Ghana between 2009 and 2015. The OSP would not institute criminal proceedings against any person in respect of this investigation. The special prosecutor has also directed authorized officers of the OSP to rescind the 13 May 2020 warrants of arrest obtained from the Circuit Court, Accra, for the arrest of Samuel Adam Foster, also known as Samuel Adam Mahama, Philip Sean Middlemas, Leanne Sarah Davis, and Sarah Feno. Earlier today, I sent out correspondence notifying Interpol of the withdrawal of the red notices in respect of Samuel Adam Foster, also known as Samuel Adam Mahama, Philip Sean Middlemas, Leanne Sarah Davis, and Sarah Feno.
And you heard the special prosecutor at a news conference earlier today, Kisia Jabin. Let me bring you just a little bit of background to the story. It covers 3 airplanes acquired by Ghana from Airbus. The nation received its first C-295 aircraft in November 2011. The second aircraft was received in April 2012 and the third in November 2015. The judgment. So SFO investigations found that Airbus had engaged in schemes that involved bribing its way to lucrative contracts in countries such as Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Indonesia, and Ghana. Airbus officials, as part of a scheme to obtain and or maintain contracts with the government, either bribed or agreed to bribe intermediaries with close links to a high-ranking state official said to have influence over the country's aircraft purchase plans between 2011 and 2015. So let's have a bit more conversation on this. Dennis is in the studio with us. He's my colleague. Dennis, first of all, just tell us how the OSP came into this case in the first place.
Well, so thank you very much, Beatrice. But before we even get to that, you would recall that on the 11th of July this same year, the OSP issued what we call the half-yearly report of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which basically details the cases that he's handling and to what extent he has handled those cases. In there was the status of the Airbus issue, where he had said that investigations into the matter were completed and that in the coming days he was going to address the nation on the way forward. It does appear that this is what he was actually talking about, having to address us on some of these matters. So the OSP essentially is saying that he's been on this case for such a long time. We all know that this case actually it has been there before this particular special prosecutor came into office.
Indeed.
He took over from his predecessor, who was also looking closely into it. We recall that at a point in time where Martin Amidu was looking into this case, somewhere in an election year, he had to stand it down. The reason being that he found that it was of a high political interest and it wouldn't be in the interest of the nation for us to be pursuing that matter at the time where we're going into the polls. I'm talking about 2020. But fast forward, he could not stay in office to see through this particular investigation. For some reason, he had to, I mean, those are facts out there that we all know, the circumstances under which he left office.
Yes.
But even the circumstances that caused his leaving office, that particular report where I'm talking about the Ejapa deal, where he wrote the letter to the presidency, he still made references to some aspect of the Airbus issue, which the minority now did not take kindly to it. They didn't understand why he would be talking about the Ejapa deal and all of a sudden put in Airbus. I mean, that is just a way of background to where we are.
Indeed.
However, when the new special prosecutor, I'm talking about Kisia Jabin, came into office, he also took over from where the special prosecutor left,
Martin Amidu
left off. Now, this whole thing came on the back of a referral that was made from the presidency. This referral was based on some court judgments in the UK and the US that had made some findings that there were some allegations of corruption that were made against top-ranking officials in this country, including persons who were described as official, government official over 1, 2, intermediary 5, and all that. So we're all curious, wanted to know who were those in there. Even though people were able to connect dots to point fingers at former President John Dramani Mahama, there was no categorical statement by the state agencies themselves that these were the people. So until today that the OSP, who has done his checks, he says that he has independently been able to confirm that government official one, as was mentioned in that, in those documents, to have been a person related to an agent of Airbus who, per the court judgment, was bribed to, or paid bribes to be able to front for some transactions, was John Mahama. So what essentially happened, what essentially the OSP did was to also take those documents and begin to invite the persons who were mentioned, just so he would have an interview with them. We are told that by the OSP that he had an interview with former President John Dramani Mahama, who denied any involvement in issues that had to do with bribe, even though he admitted that he has, the Samuel Mahama, who was labeled as intermediary 5 in that document, is actually his blood brother, but that they were doing a purely commercial transaction in which he then, as the vice president, was the one leading those negotiations. So it didn't have anything to do with bribe as was purported or as has been alleged against him. According to OSP, he also interviewed Samuel Adam Mahama, that's the brother of John Mahama, and also his close associates who were doing business with him. They also denied having done any wrong, even though they admit that they were doing a business transaction, which was not just in respect of Ghana. They were doing the same business transaction as agents of Airbus for other countries, including Kenya. And also, the OSP then found that, okay, if that is the case, when you look at the time that Ghana agreed to purchase these aircrafts, Samuel Adam Mahama was already doing his business elsewhere too. And they did not find that when they were making that consideration, there was an influence by John Mahama. In fact, John Mahama mentioned that the decision for Ghana to purchase the aircrafts came before him. It actually started under Kufuor, except that along the line, there had to be some changes because the initial contract at a point was impossible to be executed. So basically, the OSP looked into all that, together with documents that he got from the UK and the US, who had also looked in the same matter. But mind you, when the UK and the US were looking into this matter, Airbus, together with the prosecution authorities, that is the Serious Fraud Office, for instance, the UK, decided to go into what they call a deferred prosecution agreement. That is to say, we admit that we have done a wrong. Fine us so that we don't go into the merits of the case. It may look like the same thing we have in our jurisdiction now called plea bargaining. So they did not have the benefit of going into the merits of the case. And they did that on behalf of all other persons who were named in there, including the government official 1, intermediary 1, 2, 3, and all those people. So they did not have the opportunity of hearing those people. The OSP now explains that because of that, he also needed to hear from the people themselves. So at least, if they had any defense, they were not given an opportunity there to be heard. So he had to hear them. So that is how come the OSP has now gone into that to listen to those people to also come to that conclusion.
And that is the reason he then goes to also conclude that this case is not actionable?
Yes, so he says that it's not actionable because, okay, so the other bit of it, which would link closely to that question, is the fact that when the president made the referral, many had thought that because the courts in the UK and the US had found that there were indeed bribes that were paid, then our OSP would have just based on that to move into action. But the OSP says that no, it does not work that way. The laws in UK and the US on corruption and corruption-related offenses are quite
totally different from ours.
Yes, so even if we have to do that in our jurisdiction, it has to go through a certain process. And that's exactly what he's doing. And he too did not have benefit of getting the raw investigations that led to that conclusion. So he also had to do his own conclusion. But having done so, he does not find that there is any wrongdoing on the part of at least John Mahama to have influenced the choice of Airbus as a company for us to buy the aircraft from. He did not find that bribes were paid to John Mahama because Samuel Adam Mahama was only an agent. And as an agent, you are entitled to what you call a commission. In any case, Airbus operates on that model that you as an agent, if you're able to get us somebody to buy our aircraft, we pay you a commission. So these monies that have been talked about, 3.9 euros that was paid to another company, which was eventually paid to the company by John Mahama's brother, said it was a commission that he duly worked for. So on that basis, he did not find any the allegations of corruption and corruption-related offense as alleged something that he could mount a prosecution on.
So again, and that's just to conclude our conversation before we get the political parties on to have another level of conversation with them. You mentioned Martin Amidu.
Yes.
And the reason he chose not to touch it because we're going into the polls. And I'm asking this question because just after the OSP's the Special Prosecutor's press conference, one major reaction that came was, okay, why now? We are going into another polls. I'm wondering which of them you've picked and really what they are saying, whether it's the same thing about the timing of bringing out this report.
Well, two people running the same office, and you would recall that even before Martin, Kisi Agyabin came in the office, he says he was coming to walk in his own shoes. Perhaps this is his own style, and also because this brings closure to the case. He does not see why he should be holding on to this particular information. He thinks that it's about time that, we just bring this whole case to a close and then we move on. But it doesn't seem like the political parties are enthused about it.
Certainly.
That the timing is not right.
Yes, thank you very much, Dennis Paberi Wadam, my colleague here, bringing us details and some background to this Airbus scandal.
Well, let's stay a bit further on this because as expected, this was a heavily politicized issue and the references made to the fact that we're going into an election had to be suspended and all of that tells you how politically oriented this particular case was. A Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, Haruna Mohammed, has criticized the OSP, as a matter of fact, for what he describes as a lazy job in its investigation into the Airbus bribery scandal. And that's where we bring in lawyer Abraham Maliba, who's joining us on the telephone, as private legal practitioner, member of the NDC. He's joining us. Counsel, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening to you and to your listeners.
This is the verdict of your opponents, the MPP, on this Airbus scandal investigation that the OSP has communicated the decision clearing John Mahama of any wrongdoing, ending the entire investigation. The NPP, at least so on the part of the Deputy General Secretary, he says this was a lazy job that the OSP has done in investigating this Airbus bribery scandal.
Well, the MPP is known for engaging public officials who do their bidding. In this particular one, they are disappointed because Kisi Agyabin has shown that he can be his own man. This is the reason why he conducted the investigations without any interference. The verdict is out there for everybody to see. The MPP naturally will not be happy because this in itself was a politically motivated allegation and that they wanted to hang this allegation around the former president. But today's verdict from Kisi Agyabin clearly indicates that this matter has come to an end. And so the MPP is running away with its tail in between its legs.
Well, he bases this position that he is taking on the premise that, one, to the extent that the USP says that he doesn't have all the facts at hand, yet he goes ahead to indicate that he cannot prosecute the case. He asked the question, did the OSP go to ask for the judgment from the UK court? What was the material used in the judgment in the UK court? What were the evidence or the basis for their conclusion? And has the OSP been denied the judgment of the UK court? Those are the questions he's asking, reason why he makes that conclusion.
But clearly he knows. He should know, as a general secretary of a big political party, he should know that this matter is no more alive in the UK court. Indeed, the matter was taken out of the UK court, and then persons who were named or who were alleged to be culpable were all set free. So long before even Agyabin took this decision, I had indicated to the whole world that once the matter was no longer alive or was no more ongoing, and that the UK authorities did not see any reason to continue with the matter, I can't see how Kisi Ajabin can deal with this matter except to end his investigation. I've been vindicated, right? So if the matter which originated from the UK, the courts there have decided to discontinue the matter, on what basis would Kisi Ajabin continue the matter here? So I think that they must begin to get used to the fact that there will be some public officials who will stand by the truth, some public officials who would be faithful to the law and deal with matters irrespective of where. So I don't think that we should cry over this. This is the clearest indication yet that former President Mahama is incorruptible and that during his term of office, there were no acts of corruption associated with him. And this verdict will go a long way to put the icing on the cake.
Well, for the MPP, to the extent that the government official one identity has been uncovered once again by the OSP, because this is not the first time an OSP is linking that identity of government official one to the former president, your flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama. Indeed, Martin Alamisi Burns Kaiser Amido did make that indication. In fact, now Kisi Ajabin has confirmed this again, and for the MPP, they're also leveraging on that to mean that now that infamous government official one identity is known, and that's your flag bearer.
When has the nomenclature government official one been an offense? When? So let's assume, without admitting, that Kisi Ajabin has come to that conclusion. How is that a crime? Why? Police officer one in this country is Dampare. How is that a crime? Medical officer one will be the most top medical officer in this country. Judge number one will be the Chief Justice. How does that become a crime? They should connect it and I'll see. They are clenching on to straw, and I think that what you can do is just to allow them to think.
Well, but nonetheless, the special prosecutor, if you read at least the details of this report communicating his decision on this matter, expressed concern over John Mahama's communication with Airbus officials in the purchase of the aircraft. In fact, he highlighted the potential conflict of interest and the appearance of improper conduct in that aspect where, and I quote, it ought reasonably to have occurred to the former president and your flag bearer and the government of Ghana that the familial relationship between the former president John Mahama and Foster and the direct participation by the former president John Mahama in the communication and meetings with Airbus officials were bound to raise reasonable suspicions of improper conduct and dealings, notwithstanding any claims to good faith conduct and above board dealings. Is that not concerning?
If you read that carefully, it will say that it raises improper conduct. It raises suspicion of that. But at the end of the day, what is the verdict? It says that both former President Mahama and his brother Adam Mahama were never bribed, did not take bribes, and even to the extent that government officials, apart from the former president, didn't also take bribes. That is the verdict. The issue of whether it raises improper, what did he say?
Improper conduct and dealings.
Improper conduct.
Yes, I mean that's.
Yes, but at the end of the day, is it established that we can find acts of corruption on the part of the government? No. Who benefited? Nobody benefited. Was there inducement? No inducement. That, for me, is what the people of Ghana want to know. But as a president, wouldn't you be interested in purchases of such nature to know whether or not the government would use them properly, or to indicate how the government want to ensure that the procurement is done. If those are the involvement, how does that occasion a loss to the state or a bribery? So that's how I indicated to you earlier on that they are holding on to straws. But the main issue, which is, did former President Mahama take a bribe? No. Did his brother take a bribe? No. Was Ghana shortchanged? No. So these are the important things that we should be discussing.
Well, but then again, also, while that is a fair point to look at, you cannot also discount the concern that the OSP raises. And in fact, the advice that he gives against the direct involvement of President and Vice President in commercial dealings on behalf of the state. He says that should not happen again, to the extent that it smacks of an indication of a conflict of interest, because you do know that the conflict of interest law borders on it being real, perceived, or apparent. These are the three areas of conflict of interest that you can look at. And to the extent that, based on the OSP's own analysis, the involvement, the direct involvement of the flag bearer of the NDC and the former president in the direct communication and meeting with Airbus officials were certainly bound to raise reasonable suspicions of improper conduct. That should also be considered, is it not? So as not to happen again, instead of just wishing it away and saying, well, you know what?
I didn't hear from Special Prosecutor the nature of the involvement. I want to believe that as a responsible president, if such purchases are being done, you would want to be in the know of how these transactions are being done. Today, aren't we being told that he did not engage in acts of corruption? But suppose he did not supervise the purchase of the aeroplane. Wouldn't somebody to say that it is dereliction of duty? So I want to hear from the Special Prosecutor, because I didn't get that aspect. The nature of the involvement. That would then make me appreciate whether he overdid it or it was within his remit.
Okay, and while we are at it, and we'll get a lot more of it. I know you're doing the listening, so you get a lot more of it with the OSP's position on this matter. But for you, the NDC, this comes as a vindication of the flag bearer of the NDC?
Yes, as a political party, we have always known that this matter, which indicates that our former president took some bribes and that his brother took some bribes in the Airbus scandal, was not the reality. This vindicates the position of the party, and I think that what we can do is to commend Kisi Ajabin, who has decided to do his work without any traces of politics in the work that he does.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Lawyer Abraham Amaliba is a private legal practitioner, also a former director of legal affairs of the NDC. But there was one point that Dennis Abraham Amaliba did point to with respect to the exact conclusion of the special prosecutor related to the former president's direct communication with the Airbus officials and his familial relationship with Foster.
Yes, so what the OSP is simply saying in this regard is to the effect that, so he started off by saying that there was no evidence to suggest that the involvement of Foster as an intermediary of Airbus and the direct communication and meeting between former President Mahama and officials of the Airbus to close the deal between Airbus and the government of Ghana amounted to any corruption. He states that, however, he comes to caution that it ought reasonably to have occurred to former President Mahama and the government of Ghana that the relationship that existed between him and then his brother and the direct participation of former President Mahama in the communication and dealings with Airbus officials were bound to raise reasonable suspicions. He makes that case. Now he continues to say that by the nature of that proximity of the dealings by the elected high officials of the government and their close associations, that the Republic should neither be viewed favorably nor encouraged to continue on that path. That is to say, moving forward, if there's such relationship between high government officials and then their business associates, care should be taken just so that it does not raise suspicion in the minds of Ghanaians that this could be a case of bribery, corruption, or cronyism, or whatever you call it. So that even if it is intended to be in good faith, as he had found in this case, I mean the OSP or the special prosecutor found in this case that the engagement by John Mahama and his brother in this transaction, according to him, was in good faith. And that however that was intended, looking at it from the outside, it seems to give a certain, people seem to have a certain impression about it. So that is the kind of conduct the OSP, by this particular part, is trying to discourage. So he makes the case of that it should not be encouraged, then it should not be viewed favorably.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Dennis. Let's get some more on this. We're joined by Andy Apiakubi. He's MP for Asante Achim North and also private legal practitioner. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for calling.
The Airbus scandal has been a major issue for the NPP, such that the sitting president found it worthy to refer the matter to the OSP. Now, it turns out that Mahama is not complicit in a deal. How do you react to this?
Well, first and foremost, I have to correct you. It is not a matter of concern to the NPP. NPP is nowhere in this case. The president acts in his capacity as president, and also the head of the country to implement the judgment of courts as an executive. NPP is nowhere. So if the president is minded to refer a matter to the OSP, he doesn't do that in his capacity as an NPP rep. He does that in his capacity as the president of the nation.
But Mr. Apiakubi, you would admit, before you continue, you would admit that the NPP has used this for campaign, that Mahama is equally corrupt, and Airbus scandal has been on the lips of many campaigning NPP officials.
Yeah, if at a point in time NPP thought that Mahama was corrupt and referred to this case, it doesn't mean that it is a justification for the president to make a reference of this case to the OSP. That is all I'm saying. So your target of a presidential action to the party is what I want to discount. And in any case, that is not the cause of the matter. The cause of the matter is whether or not an accused person is culpable, or whether or not a prosecutor is able to mobilize enough evidence to prosecute his case. And that is the cause of the matter. And that, according to the OSP, there is not enough evidence for him to continue with his prosecution. And that is what I find very strange, because the whole prosecution is premised on a decided case. And the decided case outside this jurisdiction, and there are confession statements. And, they entered also a deferred prosecution agreement. And in the deferred prosecution agreement, all those confessions are there. And in any case, according to law in England, those witnesses of the case in England, by law, are enjoined to be witnesses in the cases of the 5 countries mentioned in the case, assuming that authorities in those 5 countries find it necessary to invite them as prosecution witnesses. And we are saying that we don't have evidence. And this is what I don't find wholesome for our consumption.
So you have a problem with the outcome of this investigation by the OSP?
I have everything wrong with the position the OSP has taken. I'm making reference to a decided case. I'm making reference to a deferred prosecution agreement, which is subsisting. And I'm making reference to laws of the United Kingdom that compels the witnesses to appear to support the prosecution of prosecutors in the 5 countries. And I'm saying that with all this, in the knowledge of the OSP, is he saying that he cannot bring those witnesses to come and provide evidence against the accused person?
Ms. Apiakubi, I'm glad that you're a lawyer yourself. I mean, the OSP, one of the arguments is that we don't have the same laws, and so you cannot import what is happening in UK or laws that back certain investigations and bring them here and use those same to prosecute somebody.
If you are finding witnesses, the witnesses are not limited to this jurisdiction alone. So if the witnesses have evidence that will support your case It doesn't matter where they are. And in some cases, if we even have people who could be considered as accused persons, we could also use the international system to bring them to justice. So I don't agree with him when he says that the laws of England are different from the laws of Ghana. Yes, some of the procedural issues could be different, but in the deferred prosecution agreement, we have witnesses who have admitted to doing ABCD. And I'm saying that the laws of England allow the invitation of the witnesses in the case to appear before our courts. And if you who has been given this opportunity is saying that you cannot bring them, and indeed if they were invited to come and become prosecution witnesses and they refused, the laws of England will deal with them. And again, if they came and preferred evidence against the accused person, it could be used in the prosecution. And if they came here and decided not to give evidence as they gave in England, they could also be punished by the English laws.
Hearing you talk, it's obvious that you're not just, or you do not just have a problem with the conclusion by the OSP. You're equally disappointed, but the NDC is hailing this. NDC thinks that this is a clear indication that John Mahama is incorruptible.
Well, it depends on where you stand. And in their case, NDC, they were praying that there would not be enough evidence to prosecute former President Mahama. So why would they not jubilate? But I am laying the fault at the doorstep of the OSP. I am saying that I am disappointed with his position and his processes. I'm disappointed with the attitude and also with the quality of work. I'm disappointed. And I'm pointing to possible leads that he could have taken, and he didn't take them. And he's saying that he would not have enough evidence to prosecute.
Mr. Piakubi, would I be right to say that you're disappointed, as well as other MPP members who have already expressed their views about this?
Don't tag me, MP. My disappointment, don't put it at the doorstep of MPP. I am a lawyer, and I'm evaluating the work of OSP in my position as a lawyer.
So I'm bringing in the MPP because you are a member of parliament on the ticket of the governing party. You're still a member of parliament.
Listen, you probably don't know me. My position as a member of parliament from on the ticket of MPP doesn't influence my legal thinking.
I'm not undermining that. I was only asking that and prefacing that with the fact that are you disappointed because then this destroys this whole campaign argument of Airbus scandal?
I'm not disappointed because of any campaign. I'm disappointed because the process of prosecution has been so undermined, and the quality of prosecution is so low. I'm disappointed in that. I'm not disappointed if the prosecutor prosecuted well and the accused person managed to defend himself. I will not be at all disappointed. But I am disappointed because I think that the prosecution didn't start well, and that is where my disappointment is.
So would you encourage the OSP, for instance, to pick this thing up again, or perhaps you may look at other avenues? You think this could be investigated again?
When he says that I don't have enough evidence to prosecute, and therefore I will not prosecute, he has not even started the prosecution, and therefore this OSP thinks that he cannot prosecute. And again, the OSP operates within the ambit of the Attorney General. So I want to believe that, well, if the Attorney General thinks otherwise, let's see what it is that the Attorney General can do also to mount a more spirited prosecution.
Oh, so I just want to get you clearly. You want the AG to pick this up himself?
I would suggest that. And I know crime has no time limitation. And therefore, this OSP cannot prosecute. It doesn't mean that somebody cannot also prosecute tomorrow.
All right, we'll have to end it here. And that was Andy Apiakubi. He's the Member of Parliament for Achim North and also private legal practice. Asante Achim North. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Well, co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senano, says the findings put to rest the politics around this issue.
I thought it was quite thorough. I mean, one of the things that for me was very substantive was when they were able to indicate that Samuel Adam Foster Mahama had existing contracts covering other African nations pre-existing to this particular engagement with the government of Ghana. And so it was not the case that there was some favoritism or some uniqueness in the Airbus people actually working with his company to attempt making sales to Ghana. I think that kind of context begins to make you understand this was not exclusive, and therefore the kind of conclusion being drawn should not be surprising. For me, that kind of thoroughness and feedback, also the fact that the UK government itself did not proceed with any form of prosecution, clearly, therefore, the raw data, raw information available to them did not suggest that they had evidence that could, as it were, procure a ruling against such individuals. I think all those facts are very relevant in drawing the conclusion that there's no finding of having been involved in corruption or corruption-related offenses. And that makes us much more confident about the report.
But Mr. Senano, there's still another concern the OSP raised, though, that although he didn't find any evidence of wrongdoing, the fact that the former president knew that his brother was involved in such a thing, he could have recused himself. So there's that subtle conflict of interest argument coming out here. I'm wondering what you make of that.
Which is what I just actually spoke to, that albeit the fact that the OSP pointed out that he should have known better. And I align perfectly with that thinking. Over and over again, we've seen public officers who they'll seem oblivious of the issues of conflict of interest, of abuse of discretion, etc. It looks like the education on ethics and the ethical way of doing things, there's a lot more work we need to do for government appointees such that they can avoid such situations. So that clearly should have been a red flag for the president and his advisors and for all appointed individuals, so to speak, that you cannot continue to engage in these types of activities without the impression being left of conflict of interest and potential abuse of power or of corruption. So these are things they need to watch out for.
And you had the co-chair Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senano, speaking to me earlier.
Well, away from this, and in fact, the renal unit at Kolebo Teaching Hospital has been closed for almost 2 weeks with no explanation from officials of the health facility. Normally bustling with patients, the entrance now stands empty with only a few staff on site. Patients have resorted to private facilities for their dialysis, which is not cost-friendly, leading to the demise of some 3 persons. It's how unfortunate the situation is. Now, Godwin Asidaba visited this facility and came through with this report.
The renal unit at the Kolebo Teaching Hospital has been temporarily closed for almost 2 weeks now, with no official explanation provided. On a typical day, the entrance of the unit will be bustling with patients arriving for dialysis. But today, however, it is almost deserted with only few staff members seen around. Inside, many of the machines were not functioning when I entered the facility. The usual beeping sound were absent. A similar incident we can recall occurred on June 2024 due to maintenance. However, at this time, the exact reason for the closure remains unconfirmed.
That is a rumor that we have that they don't have consumables, and it's getting critical. My understanding is that even some of the patients at the ward are being now transported outside to dialysis. As to whether it is true or it's not true, I don't know about that one as a fact. But the point is the unit has not been working for some days now.
The shutdown of the renal unit has led to a significant financial strain for outpatients, many of whom have been forced to seek treatment at private facilities, an option that comes with steep cost.
I need there should be some sort of proper communication. This is our reason we're having these challenges. And we've not been doing it. Now, most of my people are struggling going outside to do it. And moreover, I want you have to know that outside is more expensive than Kolimo.
Since the facility has not been functioning, it has resulted to the deaths of 3 kidney patients. Really unfortunate.
If at least the place was working, maybe when they came, a doctor could have seen their situation or a nurse could have seen their situation and advised. Sure. Yeah, so I don't know about that, but it was
Is the NHIE still helping the old age and then the younger ones?
not equally straightforward. I'm supposed to enjoy 2 free sessions.
Right.
I've never enjoyed St. June.
Well, that's a report, a heartbreaking one by Godwin. I said about my colleague who visited the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Let's get a bit more into this. And unfortunately, we have Mr. Bafo Ahenkra, who is the president of the Renal Patients Association. He's joining us on the telephone. Mr. Ahenkra, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yeah, good evening, Alfred.
So it's good to have you. But then again, we're talking at a time when it's not so good news for you. That first of this renal unit has been closed for 2 weeks. And we understand that 3 of your members or persons who were living with kidney failure have died as a result.
Yes. We have 3 of them.
3 people have died.
Yes.
In the last 2 weeks.
But like I said, the doctors will be the right people to see whether it was because of they not had a session or not. For me, I know. Because maybe if they were coming around and the unit was in full session, maybe a doctor could have seen them or something. Because once they are in their houses, before we hear emergency, they are rushed, then they pass on. So the doctors will be in the right. But for now, I can say we've lost 3 of them.
And so far, there's been no official communication as to why the unit has been closed down for the past 2 weeks.
That is the sad aspect of it, Alfred. The point is, we keep saying, listen. It's just a communication. If they like what we hear that the consumables are not available. So they are human beings. So you just communicate. Consumables are short. So we are working on it to bring it. You tell the patient something. Here we are. You are not telling them anything. And when they try to find out, nobody is able to come out to tell them exactly what is going on. And they are living on their own feet, going about whatever happens to whoever. It's like, who cares?
But have you attempted? I mean, as a leadership of this group, made an attempt to find out from the officials as to why this unit has been closed for 2 weeks?
Yeah, I personally have, but you will not even get the right person to speak to. Normally, when you try to talk to somebody, the person will tell you, go and ask this person. The person will tell you, go and ask this person. The person will tell you, go and ask. So it's like within the perimeters of within our range, where that is all, because it's like you will not even get a person to talk to. You will not even get anybody to talk to. When it happens like that, everybody is trying to. Nobody wants to take responsibility or nobody wants to take blame. So government work. So everybody tries to hide him or herself. And then the thing is there. Oh my! When you even get the right person to ask, he will also tell you that he doesn't know what is going on. They are also waiting for the consumables.
Wow. Now, and there's another aspect that I'm also hearing for the first time, that this government initiative to provide some relief for you, the persons living with kidney diseases, and a number of you have not benefited from it as yet.
Yes, as I spoke to Gideon this afternoon, that is proud to this closure. Nobody was doing it. But after I spoke to Gideon this afternoon, I double-checked again, and I'm being told that they've started. Maybe I think about a days before the closure. They started with the old age, and subsequently they will continue from there. And those that need to be refound, they will do that, because as I spoke to Gideon this afternoon, and I went back to check that how far with that one, I'm being told they said they started maybe some days before the closure of the unit. So that's what I'm being told. But because the place is not in full scale, you wouldn't know how effective the thing is.
Obviously.
So so once, I mean, the so-called consumables, which is not officially confirmed, they get, and the place is running full scale, then we'll get to know whether this now started or not. But for now, to my best of knowledge, almost 2 weeks now, nothing proper is going on. So you will not even get any proper answers on that one.
I see. Now, if we talk about consumables, exactly what are we talking about?
The consumables that are used for the patient. We are talking about the lines, the dialyzers, and those things. Some of the, unless some have run out. They don't have some of them. So, like I said, once again, it's a rumor. Officially, the management have not officially communicated that this is the reason why for almost 2 weeks now we are not working. But it's a rumor that we are hearing that the consumables are not available for them to use.
So, I appreciate your time on this, and thank you. It's one that we'll keep an eye on and also be getting some answers for you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Bafwa Hinkra is president of the Renal Patients Association there.
Disturbing situation happening at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, really.
Indeed. Really sad one.
And Michael Ogbodu will be bringing us business very shortly, but ahead of that, step into the world of Dewa 539 for your chance to win big with Dewa Direct and Dewa Chop Money. With Dewa Direct, dial star 446 hash, pick 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times your stake, and win cash every evening at 7 p.m. and on Sundays at 6 p.m. Early birds love Dewa Chop Money. At 10 a.m., dial star 446 hash, choose 1 to 39 and win 20 times, 40 times or 400 times. Play at dewa-nla.com or dial star 446 hash. Need help? Call 055-6259-249 or 053-247-9879. Dewa Afa.
Radio Development Show Host of the Year 2016-2017.
And the winner is John Hughes. Check.
Hi, my name is Johnny Hughes, your community rights advocate, and I'm still on the quest to bring smiles into your communities with Community Connect on 3FM 92.7. Join me this and every Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on 3FM, and together we will solve the problems bothering your communities.
I know your program is a program that always get a result. Myself, I'm a witness to that.
What can we do to help your community today in terms of education, health, sanitation, security, and all the issues in between from your community's perspective? Tune in to Community Connect every Friday morning at 9 a.m. as we get interactive live on radio and on Twitter at 3FM 927 and on Facebook at 3FM 92.7. Community Connect, helping solve your community problems.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to tonight's edition of the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up, energy strategist warns Ghana's low fuel storage raises national security concerns. My name is Menu. We have details of these coming up shortly. Do stay. We'll go straight to our first story. Energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Suleimana has raised concerns about Ghana's fuel storage capacity, deeming it a national security risk. His warning comes as the global stock market experienced a significant downturn earlier this week, triggering by fears of a U.S. recession, escalating Iran-Israel tensions, and other factors leading to a sharp decline in global commodity prices, including crude oil.
See how we have been swindled. See how we have been moved up and down by international dynamics. If why don't you put it in place measures, internal mechanisms that will win it off, not completely, but to minimize the shock that we are subjected to when this international dynamics hits. And a couple of things that we can do. I've always mentioned that we need to have a robust local refinery, an efficient and robust local refinery base. We need to have huge, massive, reliable and efficient storage capability. As we talk now, US is refilling their strategic reserves. That's an energy security. They consider it an energy security. Storage is an energy security, a preserve. And so if you don't have any backup as in storage, if you don't have any backup as in refining, you're going to be moved up and down when this international dynamic, and that's how come we have been impacted the way we are impacted.
Dr. Yusuf Suleimana is an energy strategist at Eureka Energy Solutions. Away from that, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, has cautioned its members engaged in dollarization to desist from such practices as they distort the entire economy. Chief Executive Officer Seth Chum Akwabwa emphasized that AGI will not shield members who engage in such acts. He made this call when the association met with the Minister of Finance, Dr. Amin Adam, where he accused some organizations of engaging in activities that contribute to the depreciation of the local currency.
As an association, we are very, very responsible. We work with high ethical standards. And indeed, our members, if you are found to be culpable in any of these kind of situations, we would actually expose you and deal with you drastically. So for us, we are not aware of some of these. But as a minister and where he's sitting, I don't doubt what he's saying. And in every society, there are always the difficult ones and the bad notes. So what I would say is that any company that is involved in such a thing, they have to put a stop to it. Otherwise, the law should deal with them. And in that case, if the law is dealing with you and you have done something untoward, AGI will not be there to speak for you. That we can assure you. But sometimes engagement helps. We have to look at the circumstances that led to that.
You heard the voice of CEO of Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chum Akwabwa there. In more stories, senior partner at AB and David Africa, David Ofosu-Dote, has called for a reassessment of Ghana's monetary policy approach to addressing inflation. Speaking at the Ghana Economic Forum in Accra, David Ofosu-Dote argued that Ghana's economy is not heavily reliant on an extensive credit system, making interest rate changes less effective. Instead, he advocates for a shift towards a behavioral-based policy approach, which he believes would better address Ghana's unique economic challenges.
When you increase monetary policy rates and lending rates become more expensive, you are actually reducing the capacity to produce, which would then affect a situation where supply into the economy is less. So you are achieving the reverse effect. So our behavior is saying that the policy never achieves this effect. And I use the last 5 increases of Bank of Ghana as an example to show that it didn't let the inflation drop drastically. The question of alternative, and I said we need to change our behavior, because it is not the monetary policy rate that drives behavior. It is behavior that drives the inflation. And how do we behave? First and foremost, we are import dependent, or we think in dollars as a people. Unless you consciously drive situations where we are consuming local things. 2, you are ensuring that the local driven demand, that you stimulate the local demand itself, acts as a factor for increasing production, which then means that you need to actually do things that will make the lending rates come down.
Senior partner at AB and David Africa, David Ofosu-Dote there. Well, that's it for the business segment on Hot Edition. For more stories, kindly look onto our website on www.3news.com. My name is Minu. Alfred, do stay tuned. Bill is on standby with the sports news.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Lishen. Let's start off from Paris 2024, where Ghana's 4x100 meter relay team ended disqualification in the semi-finals of the 4x100 meter relay, despite finishing 6th in the competition due to a lane violation. Now, we spoke to the media attaché for Team Ghana, that is Benjamin Willie Graham, and he said that despite the preparation made, this actually happened.
Well, it was a decision. There are 5 of them. A decision had to be made by the coaches to decide who starts and who ends. And normally, you know that it's Husseini who starts. The back straight, you have Botio sometimes, and of course, Mathieu and Jopo. But the decision from the coaches, I'm sure when they went to, for want of a better words, conclave, they decided to make the changes. And they knew why they made the changes. They knew what was going to work for them. And they decided to come out with it. And unfortunately, like I said, we don't want to hold brief or blame somebody, but they thought that was going to be the perfect combination for Ghana at this stage. Unfortunately, it didn't go as planned. Again, the passing wasn't as smooth as we all expected. We had a best of training in Strasbourg to Paris. It was supposed to have been smooth, if you ask me. 2 days back, they had a power drill. They went through it seamlessly. But like I said, when you get to the arena, it's a different atmosphere altogether. So it's sad. It's disappointing for the athletes. They're just learning, or they have learned that beyond everything, even though, yes, overall they were 6th, but unfortunately they've been disqualified because they're passing from Husseini the passing from Husseini to Jopo wasn't as perfect as it should be, and for that matter, the team got disqualified.
That was Benjamin Willie Graham, a media attaché for Team Ghana at the 2024 Olympic Games. But still on that, Team Ghana selected a particular team which brought a lot of questions. That is including Abdul Rashid Saminu, who was set to compete in the 200 meters at the competition. But he opted out and joined the 4x100 meter relay team. And questions were asked about his inclusion in that relay team. And this is what Graham had to say.
It has to do with his decision was purely taken based on conversations with the coaches and, of course, the Athletics Association. I think he really wanted to do the 4x1, I guess. And looking at the 200 meters, I'm not too sure what the real circumstances were, but I know he qualified on the 200 as well. But for that explanation, I'll leave it for Athletics Association to decide, because they had a conversation with him. He explained to them why he didn't want to do the 200. They understood, and then he got entered for the 100 and of course the 4x1. So I think they would have one of the best explanations for that.
They would indeed have one of the best explanations for that. But this particular mishap has been a particular problem for Ghana when it comes to the relay for some time. And if you are watching us live from Facebook, here is a breakdown of some of the mishaps with Ghana's relay team. In 1996 Atlanta Olympics, they did not start due to an administrative error. In 2000 at the Sydney Olympics, they did not finish their race. In 2021 World Athletics Relays, there was a changeover violation. 2021 Olympic Games, changeover violation. 2022 Commonwealth Games, admin error. 2024 Athletics Relays, baton was dropped. And the 2024 Olympic Games, a changeover violation. And so a lot of mishaps with the relay team in Ghana. And because of this, there will be no medal for Ghana in the Olympics in Paris. 8 athletes were sent to compete. None of them managed to get into the medal zone or the final to compete for a medal. And so Ghana's run has ended. Now let's move on. Still in athletics, the men's 200 meter final comes off later tonight, and it's a very highly anticipated final because Noah Laos, who won the 100 meter final gold, is looking to compete in the 200 meters and get a double in those races. Now here's the start list for the men's 200 meter final. We have Noah Laos, Arinion Knighton, Lachile Tobogo, we have Kenneth Bednarek, we have Joseph Fambule. We also have Alexander Ogando. We have Charamba, and we have Makarau or in the men's 200-meter final. It's going to be a real cracker between 8 candidates who are looking to win the gold medal in the men's 200 meters. But moving on to football, in the Paris 2024, Morocco have secured the bronze medal after defeating Egypt by 6-0 earlier today. And so Morocco have secured that bronze medal there. And the final will be between France and Spain tomorrow at the Parc des Princes. And so a highly anticipated final. Spain reached the final in 2020 Euros but lost it to Brazil, and they'll be looking to finally clinch that medal, which will be their second gold medal in the competition if they win it. But let's move on to basketball. France has managed to reach the final of the men's basketball competition after defeating Germany by 73 to 69. Now, the 2023 first draft, that is Victor Wembanyama, recorded 11.7 rebounds and 4 assists, and Dennis Schroeder led Germany with 18 points, but it wasn't enough as France secured their place in the final. Later tonight at 7 p.m., USA, who are the favorites to win the competition, will be playing against Serbia and Nikola Jokic, who is the current MVP in the NBA. And so a very big encounter between two good sides. And that brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen, and of course Alfred and the rest of the team on standby with more.
Development Show Host of the Year 2016-2017.
And the winner is John Hughes. Check.
Hi, my name is Johnny Hughes, your community rights advocate, and I'm still on the quest to bring smiles into your communities with Community Connect on 3FM 92.7. Join me this and every Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on 3FM, and together we will solve the problems bothering your communities.
I know your program is a program that always get a result. Myself, I'm a witness to that.
What can we do to help your community today in terms of education, health, sanitation, security, and all the issues in between from your community's perspective? Tune in to Community Connect every Friday morning at 9 a.m. as we get interactive live on radio and on Twitter at 3FM 927 and on Facebook at 3FM 92.7. Community Connect, helping solve your community problems.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer from a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my way to a knockout, like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast that I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to extensive analysis, insights, and highlights.
So join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 3FM 92.7 as we serve you the most satisfying buffet in the world of sports. The 3 Sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in sports on Sports Ultras.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM.
Radio Development Show Host of the Year 2016-2017.
And the winner is John Hughes. Check.
Hi, my name is Johnny Hughes, your community rights advocate, and I'm still on the quest to bring smiles into your communities with Community Connect on 3FM 92.7. Join me this and every Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on 3FM, and together we will solve the problems bothering your communities.
I know your program is a program that always get a result. Myself, I'm a witness to that.
What can we do to help your community today in terms of education, health, sanitation, security, and all the issues in between from your community's perspective? Tune in to Community Connect every Friday morning at 9 a.m. as we get interactive live on radio and on Twitter at 3FM 927 and on Facebook at 3FM 92.7. Community Connect, helping solve your community problems.
Thank you very much, Billy Shan, for bringing us the latest in sports. And you're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Now, a group called the Concerned Citizens of Nzima Manle has vowed to protest the expected visit of NPP running mate to Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh to Nzima on Friday. Dr. Prempeh is scheduled to be in Evaluate-Jomoro-Jura on Friday to support the NPP's parliamentary candidate Catherine Afeku launch her campaign, but the agitated youth say that he should apologize to the people first for his unsavory remarks about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. There's more in the following report.
Many in Nzimaland are still waiting for what they describe as an unqualified apology to them, and especially the family of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, following NPP's running mate Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh's unpopular remarks about the first president in Kumasi during his unveiling. His apology afterwards has not appeased the people. Now, the concerned citizens of Nzima Manle have vowed to protest his expected visit to support the campaign launch of Evaluate-Jomoro-Jura NPP parliamentary candidate Catherine Afeku on Friday.
We have heard that he wants to come to Azim here without the apology. We, the Nzimas here, want to tell him that Nzima Manle is one. If he thinks he can play us to divide us, then we are telling him that he cannot and will not be allowed to do that. If he thinks that he can sideline Elembele and come to Nzima East after disrespecting Nkrumah and refusing to the good counsel of Nana Kwesi Kutua of Nkrofo and all Nzimas with him, and come to Azim and be received by us, we are saying no. We will protest his coming unless he renders the unqualified apology.
The agitated group accused Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh of using every opportunity to try to denigrate the name of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and calls for a stop to it.
If he doesn't render an apology to the Nzimaland, if he doesn't render an apology to us, we won't accept him. He should render apology to us. And his MP, the woman, he should render apology to the whole Nzimaland, so that thing that he said, it has been in our mind. It's always been in our mind, but he should render apology to us so that before he can come here. If not, he shouldn't come here. He should stay in Accra.
Irama Smith, Western Region.
Here in Akua, retrofitting and repair works in the parliamentary chamber has started ahead of the House's resumption in October. Equipment, desk and chairs in the chamber are all expected to be changed, making sitting in the chamber for the recall on September 3 impossible. Evelyn Tingma was in Parliament and reports that an alternative venue would have to be decided on for the recall sitting.
On Wednesday, August 8, the Speaker of Parliament, in a statement to recall members of Parliament, indicated that the Parliamentary Service Board last year had decided to retrofit the Parliamentary Chamber for the 9th Parliament. He said the retrofitting has become necessary due to structural defects with the audio and video equipment in the chamber, which had often disrupted proceedings, usually leading to forced suspensions of the House or adjournment. Director of Media Relations David Damois said the Parliamentary Service Board and the leadership of Parliament would have to find an alternative venue for the recall sitting on September 3. All desks, chairs, carpet and other items are expected to be changed.
Sometime now, the microphones that has the system that look like a laptop that will upload the parliamentary service documents, or that is the other proceedings and then the motion papers and everything, has these structural defects. So we have to configure the whole place and then replace them. So as you can see, that is why we have removed them. The contract has been awarded and the contractor has, on site now. As you can see, they have removed them now and they are coming to replace them with the new ones. Per the parliamentary service calendar that we have, Parliament is supposed to reconvene in October. By the communication we issued yesterday, the Speaker has summoned and made the recall. So Parliament will reconvene on the 3rd of September. Once the Speaker has summoned for the recall, definitely Parliament or the Parliament Service will find a suitable place that will host that meeting.
Contractors from now to October would work around the clock to ensure a well-retrofitted chamber for members when they resume.
Evelyn Tingma filed that report from Parliament. Now, before we go, trainees from the schools of hygiene are on the brink of staging a mass demonstration unless their long overdue allowances are urgently and promptly paid. The coalition of students of the schools of hygiene is demanding payment for trainee allowances that have been outstanding since January 2023, which include a full year for the 2021 batch from the whole school of hygiene. The students concerned about potential long-term unemployment have cited delays attributed to financial clearance issues from the Ministry of Finance. And we do have on the line with us Barney Menda Linton. He's the national president of the Coalition of Students of Schools of Hygiene. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, madam.
So we're just learning that since January 2023, you've not been given your allowances, and now we're even also hearing about the allowances for the 2021 batch. Can you tell us in total how much you're owed?
Yes, thank you very much, madam. That is the 2023 batch and I've completed our last year. And even by September, I'll be finished my next service. That's been too old in 1 year. And besides that, some of the students, they went through the school for about 2 years and they've not received a penny as their allowances. And that of who 2021 batch them to the same thing, they've not received their allowances. And besides that, for posting, they did posting, that was 2020. And since 2020, they've not posted any badge. And we are about 4 badges at home now. And besides that, we are almost 3,500 students in the house. And because they are not posting, and in fact, some of the students who completed from School of Hygiene, they have to engage themselves into illegal mining and a whole lot of things before they will be able to feed themselves. And besides that too, in fact, some students took loan before they were able to pay their school fees, because it isn't like teacher training college whereby you pay yearly. Ours is semester. And the semester, they can give you about 2 weeks as your vacation. And if you are paying school fee like about 3,000 Ghana cedi, as a student, how are you getting that 3,000 Ghana cedi to go and pay your school fees? Because we were thinking that it is these allowances that we can get to pay the fees. And here, like the case, they were not paying us. You see, so it has become a headache on us that, in fact, we don't know what to do. We, those who completed, some have engaged themselves into illegal, especially the suspect students, and some of the diploma students who completed 2021, 2022, thereabout, they are not doing anything in the house. They have to engage themselves into illegal manner because we are not getting any employment.
Over 3,500 of you say. We are learning that you're planning of a protest. When do you intend to do that?
In fact, we are giving them by the close of this month. If we didn't hear anything, we'll organize ourselves and march into the Ghibli Park and demonstrate to them. In fact, we are not coming home till we declare us for the posting and decide they pay our allowance. Or else we are not coming home.
If you don't hear anything from who exactly, who have you been engaging to deal with this problem, aside from the Ministry of Finance, which has to pay you?
In fact, we have engaged our principals. We can't take any action without involving our principals because they are in charge of everything. So we first went to them and they told us that they have submitted a list to the Minister of Sanitation. And we follow up for them they told us that they have submitted a list to the finance. And here lies the case. We are not hearing anything.
All right, we'll have to end it here. Thank you very much. You heard the president of the the Coalition of Students of Schools of Hygiene speaking to us earlier, giving the government up to the end of this month, or members of this coalition will hit the streets against the non-payment of allowances since January 2023. And you're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Thank you for staying. Now, the next NDC administration will continue the construction of the stalled Bolga Airport for introduction of air flight into the Upper East region. Despite the allocation of land for the project and feasibility studies carried out in 2016, the project is yet to take off. Listen to John Mahama speak to the residents of Bolga earlier.
We did the asphalt overlay from Bupe to Tamale because the road had deteriorated, and so we put a new asphalt overlay. The next phase was supposed to be from Tamale to Bolgatanga, and then we left office. If you pass on the Bolga-Tamale road today, it's in a very poor state. And so we're going to prioritize it so that when we come, we do the asphalt overlay so that you can drive safely from Tamale to Bolga without any inconvenience. For those of us who have to travel urgently, an emergency comes and you have to travel. Currently, you have to drive from Bolga to Tamale Airport to go and catch the flight. When we came, we had selected a location for the Bolga Airport. We'll continue the project of the Bolga Airport because it is possible to have a viable Bolga Airport.
You heard former president and flag bearer of the opposition NDC, John Mahama. The vice president also launched an initiative for gold refinery, and we'll bring you more on that later in our subsequent bulletins. And that's it for Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice. I did this with Alfred Ocansey. Thank you so much for joining us today. Log on to shrenews.com for more news. Have a good evening and do enjoy the rest of our programs.
Accra gets busy on this frequency.